we always go for the very best components of that tier. And we're really proud of what we do. And we've been in business now, almost more than 4 years now. And it's been an awesome ride.
Awesome. Let me just get rid of the echo real quick.
More than 4 years now. It's been an awesome ride.
Sorry.
All good.
Let's see. Let me just get rid of the echo real quick. All right. So going through everything we got here. So let's hear about each of your backgrounds. If you want to start, Henry, how you got into tech, how the whole business came to be, what keeps you motivational, your schooling, your hobbies, all that.
Well, that's a. I'll give you the abridged version. How about that? I don't want to
Okay.
bore anybody. So I guess my background, I've always been a computer guy. I've been either building computers, tinkering with computers, you name it, tinkering with just about anything, but especially technology especially in the computer space, probably about 15 years or so now. 26, so yeah, about 15 years. Um, I went to college for accounting and IT, but IT has always been my passion. Computer and technology has always been my passion. And DarkFusion was started, but yeah, again, like I said, about 4 years ago, with this idea of creating a business that truly was greater than the sum of its parts. And so I sell our products, but really trying to create something that set an example to create products that would inspire other people, either to create their own business that had products based on passion, not purely just on getting something out the door. There's a lot of great companies in our space, in the small computer space, but there's a lot of them who will cut corners everywhere they can, and that's not what we do. And I want to try to set an example. We're not perfect, but we try to be every day, and that's always an uphill battle. But I think it makes our products really speak for themselves. So I wanted to do something that could be an outlet for people, create an outlet for people, make machines that people could relax on, for gaming. They could compete with for gaming. They could be creative and design things, for workstation use, or get their work done in a more efficient manner, for office systems. So bringing together a passion for creation, bringing together a passion and interest in entrepreneurship, but also to create something greater than myself, greater than ourselves. So that's really where it came from. And here we are 4 years later, and I would say we've been successful.
That's an amazing summary for sure. You can definitely get behind something like that. Great values, great starts, great beginnings. Now, talk to us about your two friends you have there with you, how you came into getting more partners in your business, what made you take that step to get more people involved. Because I know as like someone in charge of your own business, bringing other people into it, it it makes you feel like you have to get more done. It's like, oh, it's not just me, that could lose everything. Now I have to take care of these other people. So it's really time to like get down in it. Like, how do you keep yourself up, knowing that there's other people relying on you? If you want to get into those two things.
Well, I think we all hold each other accountable in our own different ways.
I think we're pretty good at that.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of our best things as a team. But why don't you guys kick it off?
Sure. I'm Brian. Kind of like Henry, I originally went to school for management information systems, focused a lot on IT and project management. I've been into computers since I was extremely young. I wasn't allowed to have video game systems, so that was my one technology outlet. I learned how to. I was getting fairly deep into computers when I was 5 or 6 years old, and it kind of just kept going from there. And I worked with Henry in the computer industry in a couple of different ways over the last few years. And when I had an IT job where the sysadmin started getting into mechanical keyboards, and I very, very quickly learned that I was a mechanical keyboard snob.
Nice.
No more rubber dome membrane keyboards for me. Not ever. I will keep various mechanical keyboards littered around my various workspaces. It's fine.
Yeah, once you go down that rabbit hole, it's definitely its own universe over there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's I say anything I can do myself, I want to do myself when it comes to my hobbies, and keyboards are no exception. And people ask me like, "Hey Brian, why did you spend that much on a keyboard?" And I said, just try it. Type on it, and you'll quickly understand why. Uh, I'll get more into the reasoning of that later. I'm sure it'll come up.
Sure.
And I started working with Henry. I tabled with him at the Midwest Gaming Classic one year, I think as a favor more than anything.
I think. Yeah.
And he gave me the lowdown on the Dark Phoenix computer system, and I got to give the spiel about it for 2 days straight. And I immediately said, "Yep, I'm buying one of these." So I currently have one of the computers sitting on my desk. I was so glad to go from my giant. I have a Cooler Master Pro Case 5, I think, which is a gigantic case. And I was able to turn that into like my media server and downscale my gaming to like literally the size of a lunchbox. And I haven't looked back since. I love being a part of this. And now that I'm able to take this particular hobby forward in a way that DarkFusion can really
More on that later.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
Yeah, and then hey chef, nice to meet you. I'm Max. Like these guys, been interested in computers for a long time. Computer was also my first gaming system. Remember playing like backyard baseball in the game of life way back in the day. You
Pablo
know, those two
Sanchez.
guys. Of course,
that.
and then wombats. How can you forget? But yeah, I've like got a little bit older, got like the N64 and stuff going, right? GoldenEye with the neighbors. So the computer kind of got pushed on the back burner for a little bit, but I've always been super interested. Has been my family's IT support for like the last 12 years. So
aren't we all?
Yeah, right. Easy trap to fall into. But yeah, Henry and I think we met either after college or like right at the end of college.
Right at the end of college,
through a mutual friend, which is funny because we were both in the business school. I was studying marketing and international business, and a couple, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago now, Henry reached out to me again through that mutual connection, just kind of asking if I had some time to kind of talk about some marketing questions for DarkFusion, and got the laydown, and really believed in the business model. You know, the transparency behind everything was something that I personally really valuable as a consumer. So yeah, it was really easy to jump on. I've been a little bit more of a consistent presence here now for almost 6 months, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's flown by.
Yeah, and it's been so great to be a part of the team, and you know, to just see how things are growing and progressing.
That's awesome to hear. So, Brian, when did you say you started with DarkFusion?
So I'd say my first official cooperation with DarkFusion Systems was when is Midwest Gaming Classic? That's usually in is that an April thing?
I think it was, yeah, I think it was an April thing, but then I think you actually signed on like to just be part of the company. It was like in October 2022.
Okay.
Like extended time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there was a little bit of a buffer period there where I was doing more just odd helping out here and there.
Right.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it would have been
almost a year now, basically. At least more over a year.
Yeah. So I think that the first time I started working with Henry in this capacity was in summer of 2022 at the Midwest Gaming Classic there. Henry and I have been working together for a little while in various things in the computer industry, though.
Okay. Now, Henry, when did the business finally like come together? It was official, and like, you know, you're doing this.
I would say so. I guess I have two answers, and neither are super helpful. So technically, my goal. So the business was started on July 24th. I remember the time, July 24th, 2019. I think it was like noon that day. I remember I wanted to go all in. Every young person, that wasn't that long ago, but everyone who starts a business wants to get going right away. Everyone does. And I would say we actually start to really build out systems. I don't mean computer systems like selling to customers. I mean like, okay, here's what happens when a customer wants to buy a computer. How do we handle that? What are the systems in place that we have to manage customers? How do we securely process someone's payment? You know, do we have a website, a domain, a bank account, you know, a checkbook, right? If something goes wrong, you know, what do we do? What are the policies and procedures? I would say and then actually like seeking out customers and actually getting a marketing effort probably about a year after.
Okay.
So probably about right at the end of 2020 is really where I was like, okay, I know what I want. I know how I want this business to look. It's got to obviously adapt and change and morph, but this is kind of how I want it to look. The model that we're using today really kind of was like cemented probably end of 2020, because there's a lot of stuff going on in 2020 that kind of distracted from, okay, let's go all in right away.
Oh, I mean, I had an IT support company idea ready to go.
Yeah.
And then
The world was upended back then.
That became non-functional.
But yeah, I would say by end of 2020 is really where, okay, the rubber hits the road. We know who we want to be. And, I was working on a couple of other different projects at that time. I think we all were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the last year, 2 years have just been awesome. Really awesome.
So now, with those last year or two, you had Brian coming on in October of 22, and then Max 6 months ago. What do you think was the step that you got up to where you're like, all right, now I kind of need some more help. The business is starting to really pick up. Like, what kind of clicked and said, hey, let's get some more people in on this?
Really, I think the plan, the plan was always to, okay, DarkFusion, for it to like be a real company now, for it to really be something that like wasn't just nothing wrong with a one person business. Well, every business has to start that way.
Pretty
But
much, yeah.
for you to be able to grow, and if you're helping, I guess MGC, you know what? I think it was Midwest Gaming Classic that really opened my eyes. When you're tabling and 4 people come over, oh God, what do you do? Do you stop explaining something in depth that one person really wanted to learn about to explain to everybody else and miss out on, entertaining, educating, and helping all those people? By having multiple resources, maybe someone giving a general pitch, and then maybe I'm giving the general pitch and Brian's giving the deep dive on, here's how this switch works and why a lubricated switch might feel better than this in your use case. That person can do that deep dive for you while you're giving, quite literally.
and that actually worked out really well, at least last year, when we had multiple focal points on the booth, where we would be each engaging with someone else, and then that person would kind of take an interest in the keyboard maybe, and we'd be like, tag team, we could swap partners.
Right, quite literally. And that's, I think, being able to basically take on multiple things at once. Maybe actually a good example too is a customer might have a couple of machines they need built for maybe a maybe they want to have like a workstation setup, and they have a very specific workflow, and they'll have different questions that I might not know the immediate answer to. Or we get fielded multiple questions at once, and having people to help out with things like that. That's really, I think, where it came down to, where I guess customer needs, customer demands is really like, okay, that was a natural kickoff. And it's good to ask for help because you can bring along really wonderful people. And if you have a good mission, all the better.
And I think it sounds like the story was fairly similar for Max and me, where you both started asking both of us just more and more questions.
Yeah.
and you decided maybe we should just make this official.
Right, yeah. We're official guys.
I love it. So pretty much the demand got larger than the supply of people to help them. So you're like, you know what, let's branch out. And it seems like Brian and Max both have their own little individual strengths, but then come together for everyone to bring the greater image together.
Absolutely.
Very nice. All right, so let's move on to our next point here. Let's just talk about, so what is DarkFusion? Now, I know we talked about keyboards. I know that Max has his marketing, and then you got the PCs. So what is DarkFusion?
So at the end of the day, there's 2 answers too. There's legal answer, and that is we are a boutique system integrator. The social answer is we are a computer and technology company. We started like all great SIs, I think, at some point, or computer companies start. You start with what you know best, and that's computers. That's what we started with. We owned that. We know it, and we do it to this day. That is what we are in business to do. We are here to build high quality computers with a white glove experience from beginning to end. And Brian and I always joke, because when we build computers, we quite literally are wearing gloves. Yeah. They are not white gloves, but they are gloves.
Even when it was my computer.
Right. like even building an employee machine, we are wearing gloves because we don't want fingerprints, oils, yada yada yada. It is a top-notch service from very beginning to very end. Now, the reason why I kind of call it a technologies company is because while computers are the focus, the best way to interact with a computer is with a keyboard, in our opinion. And so this is not actually, I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera, but we are building our own custom mechanical keyboards. This is not the model, but this is an idea of, custom mechanical keyboard.
This specifically was the model. And Chef, let me know if this is something you want to get into more detail later. This was a neon sign that I threw together for the last Midwest Gaming Classic to kind of get people over and interact and start asking questions and us to gauge
interest.
Gauge interest. Exactly. Okay. You've got it. And I said, I want to start a conversation. I had this really handy dandy switch tester right here. I would encourage people to play with it. I was taking down notes about the switches that they liked.
Everyone loves clicking really stuff.
I'm sorry?
Said everyone loves clicking stuff.
Oh, for sure. Exactly. Oh, goodness. I'm kind of a tactile guy myself, but the clickies are nice.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into it later when I say about the future of DarkFusion, because I know that, and I love the idea, right? It's not, oh, let's make 1,000 keyboards and see if they sell. It's like, no, let's go to this convention and see who likes touching it. Be like, so what switches should we start with? Because we can't offer, like 10 different switches to start. Just kind of give the people what they want, and you just wanted to see what is it that they want, and that's good business right there. So good on you.
What skills do we have? What skills do our vendors and manufacturers in the city and surrounding areas of Milwaukee have?
That's a big thing.
That's a huge thing. Yeah. And then what does the market want? And where we can connect that dot, that's a good business.
And admittedly, I still feel that was an extremely good venue for us to try that out.
Oh, for sure.
People, at least on the first day of Midwest Gaming Classic, the individuals who come into there are already very analog technology people. They're used to more mechanical interfaces and buttons that go click.
Yeah, they know what they want.
That's your target audience.
Yeah.
Anyway. I mean, if they don't already have like a super high-end custom PC, they are the people who would buy a super high-end custom PC.
Right. And they do.
Yeah, right. And they do. And like, I feel like, especially I've noticed like mechanical keyboard stuff, and this might just be because of like social algorithms or whatever, they just like keep popping up. And I mean, I'm not complaining, I'm falling into the trap, I totally get it. And
hold on for dear life,
right? Like,
because I lent you a keyboard.
Yeah, you lent me a keyboard, and then like we all made fun of how bad my keyboard is now, and like how loud it is, whatever. But no, like it totally makes sense. It's exciting.
Awesome. So moving on here. So what does the name DarkFusion mean? Because it's definitely unique. It definitely stands out. I personally love it. So talk to us about how that name came to be and the meaning for it.
Yeah, so it's actually not as creative as you would think. So dark. So the whole dark idea comes from this, kind of open-endedness, little edgy. I'm a heavy metal fan, and a lot of the themes of metal kind of come quite literally in all of our products, right? But also from a kind of a spiritual point of view too, this the whole rise above mentality, but something a little bit more mysterious, a little edgier. Fusion actually, again, we're bringing parts together to build something greater than the sum of their own parts. We're fusing things together. When we build a computer, we're taking components that aren't really useful on their own, putting them together, creating something greater than the sum of its parts, right? And then at the end, you have a system. Get it?
It's beautiful. It all comes together.
And it has a good ring to it.
It does.
I did see someone use a GPU as a keychain on Reddid today. So
oh my goodness.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, not say. I mean,
I'm losing out.
We're using things for their intended purposes. Maybe not like whatever.
Well, when we burn them out, when you get an old I don't know, 480 or something that burns out or whatever, you can turn it into a necklace.
Yeah, if I was a teacher,
I'm gonna do that now with a gold chain. Yeah, I used to just mount them on my walls, but that's so much better. And I wanted to toss in that the metal aesthetic has been working to our advantage recently.
It has been. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely has been.
Yeah, I heard you have a new partner in that sense. You can talk a little bit on that now if you want.
Yeah. So one of our DarkFusion partners is a metal singer named, or metal vocalist named Ryan Kirby of Fit for a King. He's been awesome to work with, and I personally love a lot of his music. In fact, I love just about all of it. And believe it or not, he reached out to us, and we have a relationship. We're working with him on Twitch. It's been excellent working with him so far, but clearly that message, the message that we bring, connected with him, and couldn't be more thrilled. And the more the merrier. We'd love to work with more people and bring people on. Like, my joke has always been, it's very hard. It's not a joke, it's more just a fact, but it's very hard to convince someone, hey, you should go buy a computer, because by default you're going to be spending a considerable amount of money.
Especially the kind of computer, the
Especially-
bespoke kind
right,
of computers that we build.
especially a bespoke machine. But once they have a DarkFusion Systems computer and they compare it to whatever they had from another competitor or build it themselves, I've never heard anything other than "oh my god," and in a good "oh my god." So we want to keep that going. We want to put great computers in people's hands.
Also, the customer service.
Oh, for sure.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is number one. We do so a lot of companies will have like I guess you can call it like an online configurator. Put something together. They're not very clear about how the pricing works. A lot of times these companies don't even tell you what type of RTX 4060, RTX 4070 you're going to get. It's just going to say that and not give you a price necessarily. It'll give you like, here's how much more it's going to cost than the default option.
Yeah, and some
We
won't
actually
say like if it's getting a specific motherboard, and they'll give you the cheapest as possible. I know I got
Right.
screwed by that already. I'm like, wait, I guess I should have checked what motherboard,
We
but
don't.
I was completely new to PCs, and I'm like, I'm
That
I'm
gets
just
you,
gonna go with what they're saying.
Right.
That's how but that's how they make their money, because
And also the no build fee.
the no
Oh,
build
the
fee
no
thing.
build fee, yeah.
That's the worst, because what those so we have a build fee. We're very clear about that. But if you take one of our estimates, which if anyone here listening wants to get one, shoot us a DM, send us an email. We'll send you an estimate, and then you're gonna look at it. It's gonna have every single component, including our build fee, priced out. And then I want you to take that and configure something as similar as possible on one of the big system integrator websites. Then let me know what you think about the price. They say there's no build fee. There's a build fee. They just add it to the parts, and typically they charge more.
And next to that, take the parts list of PC Part Picker or a similar system. You'll see where
Plus
the
or
money's
minus
going.
5%.
Yeah.
Or it's dead on. Yeah.
So you say, yes, there is a build fee. Here is what it includes.
Right. Cost
That's-
of parts.
Yeah.
Plus building, consulting, and warranty fee.
Yep. It's
Very
all spelled
straightforward.
out.
There's always a cost for something. Nothing's free. Like free shipping, they're still paying to ship it, so it comes out of somewhere. And that's out of the pieces. They're not telling you exactly what it is. And you're
Well, the
hoping
stimulus
that they're actual name brand pieces and not just a sticker RTX thrown on there either.
Right. And
Oh, the power supply.
the most common thing people do, and because there's good margin in doing it, I understand why those companies are doing it. It's not right to do it, but they'll build a system that on paper looks really good. i7, what i7? I don't know. And then they'll have some higher tier GPU or video card, and then they'll say, oh, it's a 750-watt power supply. Who made it? What's the efficiency rating on it? And a lot of times it's just whatever that manufacturer could get to hit that wattage rating that's required to make the system run in a stable manner. The problem is those things are ticking time bombs. They just are. You can take it from us. If you don't believe us, that's fine. Watch your favorite big tech YouTubers. Don't skimp on a power supply, but that's where the margin is for a lot of those companies. I mean, truth be told, that a lot of SIs make money on cheaping out on power supplies and getting Windows volume and licensing, which is there's nothing wrong with that. Calling Microsoft and saying I need 10,000 licenses is not a problem. Cheaping out on components that customers trust you to buy the right things for, that's not good.
And a side note, for a while, Henry and I did work in the computer refurbishing world.
We did.
But that was one of the first rules we set down
Correct.
together. We said, yeah, we're refurbishing computers. We are reusing components. No storage, no power supplies.
Correct. correct? Those got recycled
Mm-hmm.
because you can't guarantee. It's very. I shouldn't say can't. It is nearly impossible to guarantee the used life of a power supply or storage device because you don't know who it came from, what it was used for, and what conditions.
Yep.
It's just not right. Even if it's a good quality one, that's a whole separate side note, though.
Yeah, let alone if it was used in some kind of Bitcoin mining operation, then it's
If you
pretty
put a
worn
piece of
out.
electronics under load for at 90% capacity for 2 years, it's going to be worn down at some level. Yeah.
All right, so on to the next thing. We kind of touched on most of this, but what made you start DarkFusion, and how did you get it started? Just want to quickly go through that one.
Well, for why did we start? We did touch on that a little bit, but it was really just setting an example, trying to create something better than ourselves. A vessel of greatness, I think, is what we have on our website, and I really do genuinely believe in that. Create something that we can learn every day, bring our best, and again, we're human beings. We're always going to make mistakes here and there, but actually writing down what we screwed up or what we made a mistake on and compounding, using our resources, using our, skills and experience to, number one, fix that mistake. But number two, never let it happen again and see if we can make it even better. But also seeing what some of our, not all, but seeing what some of our competition is doing and to not do that. When you see an opportunity in the market to make a better product, make something that's going to address specific needs that we didn't see. Again, we primarily focus on small form factor PC. So in the ITX motherboard, type computers, I'm not really familiar with too many small system integrators who just do SFF stuff or small form factor. So that was another piece. But again, we wanted to create something truly great that eventually we're going to die, not to be too morbid, but something that's going to outlast us, even if it's just the idea of creating a business that it's truly built on passion. And that sounds really sappy, but that's the truth.
And you narrowed down a specialization, which is
Right.
really important.
Performance SFF.
Mhm.
Yep. Or small form factor.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I'm a car head, so kind of tie that into cars. It's kind of like there's companies out there, like we'll just say, there's Ford, and everyone's got a Ford. Be like, all right, well, there's some, people that want something a little nicer. Be like, all right, so later on down the line, like Bugattis started coming out and be like, oh my gosh, no one can really afford that. It's beautiful. They get it custom upholstered, all that. Like that's kind of like the bit of a niche that you fall into. Not saying, you're building $1 million PCs. You're honestly right there with the regular guys. Just, a little bit higher of a price point, and with that little bit, you're getting like custom tailored everything, literally whatever you want. But whatever PC parts, you guys give them exactly that. And I don't really see anyone else doing that. And like you said, creating something in the market where no one's really doing it and giving something that people actually want. Like that's just the recipe for an amazing business.
We don't want to build e-waste. The planet's already dying. We don't need to build e-waste.
And speaking of building, there is a focus that I don't think you mentioned, where things come from.
From the computer point of view or the keyboards?
Like the cases, for instance.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point. So our cases. So we have the Dark Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix Pro. Dark Phoenix Pro, they're both ITX. Dark Phoenix Pro is a little bit larger. You can fit in a full-size air cooler. I mean, we have a build that's running right now with a 7950X in it. I mean, that's a serious CPU, and that's in a case about yay big.
It's the size of your toaster oven.
Right.
Actually, a little bit smaller.
Smaller. And those cases are built in Utah, 100%. I know the owner of the steel company who makes them, okay, or the fabricator. That's a unique offering. They're not just made in some factory somewhere and slapped together. The cases are crafted.
Yeah, and that means a lot for a lot of people, especially in the U.S.
Right.
USA built. Not just the pride that goes into it, American buying American. It's also like you can talk to the guy and be like, hey, I need 50 of these, I need 1,000 of these, whatever, and you can actually talk to him, and whether maybe you get something custom, you get your own unique pieces rather than bulk buying from somewhere overseas that your competitors are also getting them from. So you're able to get your own unique product for the customers. And I mean that's just beautiful. Plus you get to tie on top of that, USA made. I'm sure the turnover times are a lot quicker than overseas. You don't have, the extra taxes, yada yada. It's just a win all throughout, and that's seriously a great thing to stand behind, and I love that.
Yeah, and to compound what you
Mhm.
were saying too, we also offer custom power supply cables. Those are made by
Yeah.
an artisan, and I think they're located in like a suburb of Atlanta in Georgia.
Wow.
And they make those by hand. They put together this whole thing, and they're get this these custom power supply cables are cut to fit our cases.
Oof, wow. That's
They
beautiful.
are made for the Dark Phoenix and Dark Phoenix Pro.
Like how
Additionally,
often, to the viewers watching, like do you put, like, whether you built your PC or you're staring into the case, do you see the cables looped around a few times? Because it's just a cable overseas that came in bulk. And I love how you described them. We have an artist that makes these. All right, it's not
This
often you
this
hear
facility is an
cables
artist.
and
oh, it's an
artists
art.
together. So
And
that's beautiful.
not just the power supply cables, but USB cables that we dabbled in
We
before.
did, yeah. We for a while we were building. Well, it wasn't us. We actually had a true artisan too in Madison, Wisconsin, who was helping us build custom USB detachable USBs for mechanical keyboards. Those are obviously, well, they're built in Wisconsin. Yeah,
Desk mats.
and we also for a
Mhm.
while we did
Mhm.
have desk mats that were built in the States, but we have pivoted back to our original design. But those were, we really try to focus on the highest quality we can get. And a lot of times it comes right back home. I mean, our right. Heck, even our cable ties that we use inside of the Dark Phoenix Pro, but also sell on their own. Those are made in Racine, Wisconsin. Those are made about 20 miles south of where we're sitting right now,
Wow.
and they are ridiculously overbuilt. But that's what you want because you can keep reusing them. You don't need to throw the stupid thing away.
Mhm.
And so much, I think, so much of our culture is. This is another reason that's why we started it. So much of our culture is gonna throw away. Oh, the new thing's out, dump it, trash it. Well, you can
Yep.
only do that so long to a planet. You can only do that so long to a society. Build something that's gonna last, and if something's not gonna last, have it at least be so there can be parts to it where you can replace parts, fix parts. The whole idea. So I don't get too political here, but the whole idea, this the right to repair movement, big supporter of that. We don't need more e-waste. We don't want to
Mhm.
put in junk power supplies that are going to either take the whole machine out, God forbid, or at least pop it, in 2, 3, 4 years. What's the point of that? How do you go to sleep at night?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
it's interesting. I
That's just
mean,
me.
this is another reason why I was so excited to like hop on the team and help out with marketing and stuff. In a way, it feels like we're kind of making like the Frigidaire appliances of like the 40s and 50s, but with modern computers. And I think that's like really telling, not only like how far we've come as a society, but just like how invested we know like the market is for stuff like this, and we understand like the common occurrences of like having to replace things constantly or every couple years. So the best that we can future proof. I mean, it's better for the planet, it's better for the
Right.
consumers, and
Save better in your wallet. Everyone's
right,
winning.
right,
I
yeah,
mean, you spend more money up front. You do. You definitely do. But you're also not spending money more often.
right.
And you don't have something go boom right in the middle of an important project 3 years in.
Hmm.
That's what's
True.
great about a desktop computer.
Right. If something goes wrong, well, even on any of these computers that do cheap, the desktop itself is a modular platform. Right now, we're streaming from a MacBook Pro. When something on that goes bad, trust me, I love you, Apple, but when something on that goes bad, it's done.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, we
one
love
thing,
using it
especially
for our
with
base
Apple.
level.
Right, right. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but that's that's not the model we do. So
Yeah, same. When you have your car, you get a flat tire, you don't throw the car away. You're gonna replace the
no,
tire. Your starter goes bad, you
right.
get a new starter. Same with the
Yeah.
PC. If you had it for 5, 6 years, like you said, you build a modular, take out that piece that ain't doing too well anymore. Maybe the new streaming service is a little more demanding. Pop what you need in there and get it done. And I can definitely be attest to the desk mats. I got cable ties in here too, I believe. The cinch
Oh,
straps, the
that's
cable
right.
ties. Got them cooked up. I've been using them on my PC forever. I have used those cheap ones from overseas. They strapped on, strapped off, 2 or 3 times, and then they were out of here. The DarkFusion ones, like honestly, like I'm changing stuff all the time. I got new things on my sim rig. I'm like, oh man, I got to take those off again. I'm like, oh wait, I got rid of those cheap ones. It's just like zip, zip, done. And it's like the easiest thing ever because cables are always all over the place. And I gotta say, the reusability is like seriously a great thing because I hate having to buy things. You go on Amazon, it's like 50 options. You're like, oh wow, like I'll definitely get this one. Like, oh wait, there's a bad review. Oh, they're clearly paying for reviews. It's like, no, just like give me something good. Like American made's always a great start. You know where it's coming from. You could talk to them. And I mean, the quality just spoke for itself for how I've been using it. And, you know, I can attest to what you're saying. It's seriously a great thing you got going on there. So let's,
Well, thank you.
all right, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, thank you. You know, and I would even go as far as to say Milwaukee made. Milwaukee has a history. We used to be called the machine shop of the world, and we're starting to kind of come back on that. And we're really proud to, at least in some way, be part of that resurgence and be part of that top-notch advanced manufacturing history. And, you know, obviously we don't have a giant heavy industrial plant, right? That's not the goal, but we're kind of riding on this history of top-notch manufacturing. If anyone who's at home, look it up, machine shop of the world. That's where we are.
Yeah, and our next tidbit right here, which we segued perfectly into, is the location of your business and why you chose there.
Okay, well, yeah, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Our office is in the zip code of 53202. City Hall is half a block away. I mean, this is
yeah, we're like right in the heart of downtown.
Yeah. I mean, actually, if you look out that window, I'm not gonna turn the camera on, but if you look out that window, that's City Hall.
Hey, look at that.
Fiserv Forum over there too. Yeah, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and damn proud of it too.
There you go. I love it. I love it. So our next one is the other employees and partners and their roles within the company. We pretty much spoke on that. If you just want to add a little bit to it, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm relatively recent addition, like hopping on and helping out. But a lot of my background is in digital marketing, whether that's web or social. In my full-time job, I do that basically all day, running like a LinkedIn account with over 1 million followers and stuff like that. So do you have a lot of experience and kind of understand how things work? It's fun for me though, because it's what I do full-time is like B2B, where this is so much more business to consumer. I get to have a little bit more fun and a little bit more creative freedom to kind of express the branding that, is DarkFusion. So it's been really fun and exciting to kind of see things grow and change.
Yeah. I like to consider myself a professional keyboard snob at this point. Yeah, it's worked out well so far. Currently looking for full-time employment.
Hopefully the keyboard thing takes off. You don't need it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that'd be great. I would love that.
Let's try to make it happen.
Yeah, we need to build up a little bit more momentum, but I mean that could be really
Stay
fun.
tuned.
Yeah, seriously. No, hardware guy. And originally I was brought on just because sometimes Henry wanted a second opinion on build stuff.
Yeah.
Certain like weird IT issues when he was working with a customer and things like that. And we just slowly made it more official over time. And I'm super happy right now that I'm able to turn one of my biggest hobbies into a project.
That's the best thing about doing what you love, right? Like, I love how you said turning, hobbies into a project. You do a hobby because you love it and you don't expect to get paid. It's like, well, wait a minute. We can do what we love, provide a great service and get paid. That's like the perfection trifecta of life right there.
That's the goal.
I'm into a few very expensive hobbies, and if you're into cars, I know you're on the same page.
Yes, for sure. So on to our next thing here. So what does DarkFusion do different than every other company, and why should we choose you? I know you touched a lot on that already. If you just want to kind of summarize that.
Yeah, top-notch parts, very transparent pricing, white glove experience from the beginning to the end, consulting based. I think that's something we really didn't touch on enough. We don't use a configurator. When you contact us, you are quite literally getting Henry, Max, or Brian.
And there you are.
Instagram, X, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it now.
It's both right
here, right? Yeah. We use email, right? shoot us a message there, ask, text, call, whatever you want to do. We have a contact us form on our website. Gosh darn it, whatever you want to do. But we interact with you directly. We talk with you. We speak with you. We figure out what you need. You tell us what you need. We figure out a budget.
What's your use case? What is there a game that you play that you're trying to hit certain frame rate and resolution on? Cool. That's enough for us to start working.
Future planning too is really important too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. You're rocking it.
Yeah. We are the configurator.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a conversation that
It
takes
should be
place back and forth.
Especially if you're new, you don't know what you need.
Right.
Something looks shiny and sexy, but if you might not need a Threadripper CPU.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you touched on, like with some competitors, you might see like an i7, and you're like, oh, that sounds cool because that's
might not
larger
need
than
it.
5. But
Yeah, that number's bigger. So
exactly.
me talking from my personal experience, when I first got into PCs, my parents grew up in a family that, PCs, you just went and bought a Dell and it was good for 10 years and then buy another one. And then I started getting into gaming and stuff, and I had my PS4, and I'm like, you know what? Like, nah, we got to really do this. We got to start streaming. I can't do this stream from the PS4 stuff. I need all the pretty things to go with it. Like, all right, let's get into it. I've been watching YouTube my whole life, so I'm like, let's go to YouTube. Watch one video, Intel. Next one, Ryzen. It's like, oh my gosh, now which one do I pick? Oh, this number sounds bigger. Oh, but what does that number even mean? Like, you know what? I'm just going to have someone else build it. So I go on their website and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to pick, do I want, I still don't know PCs that well. One was like an i5, I think it's like 5600K. And the other one's like, say, an i7, like 3600K. And I'm like, well, one number is bigger, but the other number is lower. Like, what? I don't even know what that means. So I watch a YouTube video. I go down that rabbit hole. And I'm just so fried. Kind of like when you go on Amazon and there's 50 different things. I'm like, I literally have no idea what I want to buy. And if I found you guys, at that point, it would have been like the most beautiful thing in the world. It's like, please just tell me what I want. I'm a gamer. I want to stream. And, right now I'm just getting into video editing. And, whether you're a metal singer that streams to Twitch, you just tell you that and you're like, here's what you want. Here's some options if you want it to look pretty. You don't need those options for it to work, but, they can definitely help. And if you're looking for a little more future proof, here you go. This is a lot more money, but you're not going to have to spend anything in the next 5 years. And that's like literally what I wanted someone to tell me.
And every customer is different too. We've had plenty of customers say, I want the i7 13700K because I'm doing these tasks, and I want an RTX 4070 Ti. Okay, fair. But we do have to do a double check, and say, what are you targeting? What are you doing? But we don't go as in depth because some people might have a misconception of actually how powerful or how underrated something is too. And there's plenty of people who can save a lot, who end up saving a lot of money because, you want the latest and greatest, we can make that happen too. But a lot of times you don't need it. Oh, you're casually playing games every once in a while and you don't do any video production or content production. Save that money and go buy some games, put that money away.
Right. For me, the big kicker with getting myself a Dark Phoenix computer, as I said, I had worked with Henry for a while, and I was really quite smitten with the case. Like, seriously, if you haven't looked it up, check it out. It's toolless opening. It's so cool.
It's even cooler in person, by the way. Yeah, just to throw that out there.
But for me, very early this year, when AMD came out with the non-X Ryzen 7 7700 and other similar CPUs, 65-watt power.
Yeah.
This is brand new. It's screaming fast.
8 core, 16 threads.
Yeah, and with low power consumption, it is begging for a small form factor build. And that was it right there. Everything else just kind of lined up, and I was able to throw together a pretty heckin' nice computer. That was really the kicker for it.
Yeah, one thing I'll say as well, everyone that goes to those parts picker or pre-built sites, they're always asking their friend whether they like post up on Twitter. I see it all the time. And they're like, hey, anyone know PCs? Let me know if this build is good. Like they all are looking to see like, wait, I think I have that one friend, or they know that friend. Like, you guys are that friend. Like, yeah, sure. Of course, consult your friends, and be like, hey, like, what should I get? And then you have a better idea when they come to you, but like you literally know what's going on. Like when you walk into that car dealership and say, "Hey, I got 6 kids. What can you fit 6 kids in?" Like, well, here you go. Here's a van. Here's a third row SUV. Like, which one you want? Like, that's literally your only options for what you just told me. And that would be perfect. Like, all right, I'm not going to go look at sedans now. Like, thank you so much. That's literally like what you guys are doing here. And I love it.
Have you ever had a phone call where you're talking with the client and their computer friend is also on the line?
No.
Oh man,
I'm
Have
surprised.
you?
What's that?
Have you? It sounds like you have.
No. I'm wondering now. I just thought of this. I'm wondering if that's something that's ever come up. Because obviously, I'm in some hobbies that involve expensive purchases, and I
Kind of like when you go to the mechanic and they're like, "Oh, my dad's a mechanic, but he's like a mechanic." You're like, "You're really ripping me off." You're saying something like that.
Right, yeah, you bring someone kind of along as the BS filter, and the
Mhm.
moral support with you. I'm just curious if you've ever had that happen.
I don't think I.
Maybe someone looking over like an estimate or something.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure.
you know what?
Yeah.
No, I did. We did have one, and we produced an estimate, and the person's like, "Yeah, it's like 1,000." Remember, I actually have the comment posted. This build is $1,000 over MSRP, and I was like, I mean, disclosure, those are PC part picker prices. It's not
Plus our
$1,000
build-
over
plus our
MSRP,
build fee.
plus our build fee, which is $300, and that's declared on there. So it's not $1,000, which is misconception, fine. But I mean, we're buying most of our parts around retail or at retail. Most of the time, it's at retail. So sometimes we can get a bulk pricing, on Windows when you buy a huge amount of them. But that's why you go to a business to do it, because most people, when they're building a PC, they get one license of Windows. Okay, well, we're building multiple PCs all the time, so it makes we can help save money for everybody, right? But yeah, someone said $1,000 over MSRP. That's a ripoff.
I
Well,
remember that.
it's like, well, it's actually not $1,000 over MSRP. Take this piece of paper, please, and price it out against our competition, as well as PC Part Picker and Amazon, Newegg, B&H Photo, great vendors. And
Yeah,
prices
I don't think we heard anything more from them.
No, which is fine. You can't please everybody,
Right.
but yeah, that's the only instance I could think of.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point of our business, is being transparent. If we're not transparent anymore, I might as well just shut this down, because we that's it. We failed our mission.
You can't be more transparent than literally the whole company right there on screen. Like, these are the faces,
Right.
these are the people you're
That's-
talking to. There you are.
That's our don't be evil.
That's our don't be evil. Yeah, exactly.
Except we're gonna stick to that one.
We're gonna take over the world one computer at a time, though,
Well, and leave everyone alone.
and leave everyone alone.
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep a straight face as much as I can. But
I'm not.
No.
So now, talking about the competition and all the other businesses, I believe iBuyPower, CyberPower, two of the biggest ones, probably through their marketing strategy and just the steamroll effect of getting more and more clients that way for their stuff. So how do you plan on staying ahead of that competition? I know you already said like what you offer, and I mean this might be more of like a marketing strategy. Like, what are you looking to do to stay ahead in that sense? I know Max will definitely be a good asset in that conversation.
Yep, we can touch on that.
I mean,
go for it.
I think, even right before this call, like I've been trained to be so customer oriented. And I think what I bring to the table here is I'm not like a super hardcore PC gamer. I'm more of like the workstation user, just based off of my career. So I do kind of provide that additional mindset that maybe might be different from what Brian and Henry have. Kind of tied into that, I think moving forward, the biggest thing for us is going to be influencer marketing. Obviously, Ryan Kirby is such a huge asset for us, but I think we just continuing to figure out how we can leverage communities, or whether that's people who are in the metal scene, creators, local influencers, even.
Yes.
That's something that we're all really passionate about. And I think, as long as we keep doing what we're doing and being transparent, it's pretty easy for the company to sell itself.
You had another idea not 45 minutes ago about someone we could work with.
Yeah,
before
literally,
we started this call.
I was on
Pending. Keep on the DL for
Yeah,
now.
I mean,
Yeah, no more
we
detail than that.
haven't even reached out to the person yet. All conceptual at this point, but like I was on TikTok for personal use, saw a Milwaukee creator, and I was like, this person would be perfect for keyboard eventually, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed down the line. So I'm just constantly thinking about where we could do those things. as well as like I know Henry and I talk about like website strategy and social strategy a lot as well. So yeah, I think there's lots of room for growth, and I think that's a really exciting thing. I think we have a lot of creative liberty to kind of express the brand and really kind of get the right messaging and content out there so that people know that DarkFusion exists and we offer this very unique product and experience that you're not really going to find anywhere else.
And to compound that too, business is personal. It 100% is. And Chef, you said something earlier about, I mean, here's the thing. There's true friendships and there's true connections you make in business. At the end of the day, we are selling a product that we consulted with you to build. But you form a connection over that. That is a relationship that you create. And our goal is to build a computer for you eventually, right? There's no incentive to do anything other than your best every single time. A repeat customer, I mean, this is just from a pure business point of view. A repeat customer who's thoroughly satisfied is a heck of a lot better experience for everybody than someone who feels a little burned and goes somewhere else. But you made a quick buck. There's no reason to do that. Business is personal, so you better show up your very best all the time.
Yeah,
for everybody.
I think just kind of to add on to that, and this kind of even relates to what we were talking about before this, like what I've kind of just put this together, so I haven't really expressed it to you guys before, but I think we don't really see customers as like just another number. Like we're genuinely trying to form that relationship.
Correct.
And that's why we do things the way that we do them.
And you know what? I'll add something on here because I know it's a factor of the company that's really stuck with me. Is I feel that we are extremely approachable as a company. We're very like focusing on what you said before. When you email us, you're talking with one of us. We are very present in the community, out and about. We've focused on, for example, showing up at Midwest Gaming Classic, maintaining a presence there. We've got a couple of other local events that we're talking about going to now, and you'll hear more about that later down the road. But I've lost count of the number of times that we've been able to solve what could be really complicated email back and forth issues or call back and forth issues or ship the computer to us issues. If they're a local customer, you've had them come here.
Yeah.
And it's the problem is solved. And they're able to leave half an hour, an hour later with their computer. I think us focus, we've talked a lot about saying, Milwaukee, Midwest. That we are trying as hard as we can to utilize that to our advantage, to leverage our being people that you can interact with directly and not being a faceless corporation. That is just going so well, and I love that vibe.
Yeah, it definitely you give that feeling of we're here, we're real, like we're literally here. Like how many times, like we're here, guys, come on. It's a real business for real people, and I mean that's really what I feel consumers are lacking as more and more of these businesses get larger and larger. And a lot of them even pull out of the US. It's like where are they even anymore? Like I have no idea. I'm just buying them for the name at this point because I remember it. And I feel like you're definitely filling out a void in not just that, but also in providing the value and those business relationships. Because I know like my personal experience through the PC that I purchased through one of the big outlets. Like I was so lost, I was so confused, and not 100% happy with what I got. Like I'm definitely gonna be looking around for the next one had I not met you guys and be like, all right, let me go through all this all over again. Let me look up on YouTube. Let me see who else and see who's the new guy that's in town. And honestly, like it's just so like a sense of relief just knowing that there's someone there for you that's really on your side. That's so. Out in the open, like, hey, it's a $300 build fee. We're gonna get you the pieces as close to retail, if not under, as we can. And we're real people. If you're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is your target main market, come walk in and talk to us. Come out to one of the shows. Fly into the shows. There's a bunch of cool other stuff going on there to check out. And I absolutely love that.
Hotels right now, like really good. We do. We have so many cool hotels. If you want to stay in a hotel, like Milwaukee, we got it. I'm serious. Sorry, this is totally. I don't know. I love this city so much.
Are you talking about the famously haunted hotel?
maybe don't stay there if you're afraid of ghosts.
It just felt like a weird thing to focus on.
I don't know. Like, no, but seriously, we have so many cool. Sorry, this is so random. I know, but we have so many cool like hotels. Like, okay, like the Trade by Fiserv and the Fister.
Never mind the sports teams or Summerfest.
Oh, we also have
Come
those
for the
things too.
hotels.
Right.
We also have great computers.
Culture Fest, the art museum, the lakefront. Like all these
The really cool hotels.
I'll definitely have to make it out there. The next Midwest Gaming Classic.
Seriously,
Got to get me out there.
Anyone who's
I
listening
love
to
it.
this, chef, come out. It's a cool place. Really cool
Especially
city.
if you like more retro video games, pinball machines, any of that like that analog age. Oh my gosh, it's a candy store.
It really is.
Awesome.
And keyboard.
So the next piece here we have, what are your goals for the company in the next 5 years? I know we're talking about keyboards, looking to get into that, PCs being your main Halo item. So, what are we looking at in 5 years?
More computers, more satisfied customers, continuing to learn, continuing to improve. Pretty standard stuff, honestly. We want to grow. We want to continue to be successful. We want to send more customers, awesome computers, or have them pick them up. That's really it. We've also, but I think from a strategic point of view, though, to achieve that, is doubling down on our presence in the community, letting people know we exist. We have the best person in the world to do that right here. And then we kind of keep dancing around the subject and getting closer and closer to it, is building a custom mechanical keyboard. We have a meeting with our engineering team in a few weeks. We're going to start like putting, I say pen to paper, or actually it's gonna be more like fingers to keyboards to design it in software. But and that's another thing too. We're aiming for, so Midwest Gaming Classic of 2024, I think is in April. Our goal is to have a physical prototype in our hand by that time. And at this timeline, that's what we're looking at. We're on track to do
I think
that.
it's achievable.
I
me
think
too.
it's achievable.
Me too. Yeah.
So that's really our 5-year plan. LAN gaming. We've done, this is just a side thing too, we've done a LAN event, called the Dark Nights. It was right in the nose.
That was fun.
It was really, really fun. And we kind of want to do that again if we can.
We learned a lot from that.
We learned a lot. We had a ton of fun. Everyone had a ton of fun.
So what was your role in the LAN event? Like, you supplied temporary PCs, or you were just a sponsor? Talk to us about that.
It's funny you said that about the first part. So we put it on. We wrote the check for the whole event. We had like a bar and everything. It was at a really cool hotel called the Iron Horse Hotel.
Okay, that one's cool.
That was a really cool hotel. We had these two event spaces connected together. We had a bar and had board games and like that, and it was a ticketed event. It was really, really fun. The issue we ran into, it's not a bad thing, but we needed to have computers on. It should not just been a bring your own computer. The problem is,
although it is an opportunity to sell people on the portability of the Dark Phoenix.
It is a huge
because I had to carry my Cooler Master Pro Case 5. and it was secured to the inside of my car with ratchet straps.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Dark Phoenix that I have now, which is literally as an integrated carry handle.
But here's the thing though, truly, I guess part of that growth thing, not everybody has the money to go get a new machine or to downsize, or doesn't even know anything about PC gaming yet, and they want to come and learn about it. Okay, yeah, they can walk around everybody else, but there's not much else to do other than our board games and have a drink or something, yada, yada, yada. I think the big step for our LAN event is to deploy a bunch of Dark Phoenixes, get a bunch of them, figure out how many we're going to need, but that's going to be a big cost. We would want sponsors. We would want to do a whole big thing. And I would like to do that sometime soon again. But TBD.
Are you looking to supply any local LAN centers, like work with them in a sponsorship deal? Like, do you have any in your area?
We've been in talks with a few people. Can't comment on it right now. But
Okay.
yeah, we've discussed it.
That's good, because I know I do casting for Call of Duty and other events, and you go out to those LAN centers, and they're buying these big box stores like iBuyPower, CyberPower, probably for kind of the same reasons. They're just easier, one click, tell them, hey, I need 100 of these, and like they just get as cheap as possible because that's what their business was looking for. And I don't run these businesses, but I'm sure in a couple years some of them aren't performing that well. So with your
You know,
guarantee, and especially if the land center is in Milwaukee, you just go there and help them out.
that is something we'd like to do. And honestly, in defense of some of our competition, they have a very different business model. In fact, I would say, I mean, yes, we have competition, of course, but I don't necessarily put us, not because we're high and mighty, but I don't think we necessarily put ourselves in that same sphere, because again, a lot of those businesses, just a lot of these computer SIs, um, their goal is to just produce something to hit a price point,
Yep.
regardless of whether it meets needs or not. That's a totally different business model.
Profit is nice. We kind of want to have fun.
Yeah, we want to have fun and we want this thing to last. And there's a place for everything, but I think we have the best offering. I'm biased, of course, but genuinely, I think everything we've touched on today about having something that's going to last, having something that's transparent, having something using high quality parts is the best choice. It's a different type of choice. It's a different offering.
I agree. So we pretty much talked everything on what you offer now, what you're looking to offer. I'd say this is where you can dive a little deeper on the keyboard thing. Feel like we talked about most of that.
Brian, I think Brian's. I don't know. I think Brian might be the right choice for that part.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, seriously, guys, just cut me off. Like at some point.
Get him more coffee.
No, so keyboards are so fun. They completely changed the way that I started computering. Really, whether IT or gaming or the data analytics I've been doing lately. To put this in perspective, my daily driver keyboard at my home office, I put over $800 of parts into, plus countless hours of labor. And a lot of people are very surprised when they hear that. And I tell them that's fine. You don't need to go that far. I chose to go that far because I wanted to have at least one perfect specimen. People say like, okay, why would you spend that much money on a keyboard though? And I said, well, let's put this in perspective. There's a very common piece of logic that I've heard. You spend good money on a mattress because you spend a third of your life in bed. I spend the remaining 2/3 of my life in front of a keyboard.
Very true. Like a time audit.
Yeah.
This is the tool of my trade. I'm going to have a nice one that I have put my own effort into that meets my specifications that I have chosen. And in some cases, like that daily driver that I have, where I've individually disassembled each switch, lubricated it, and reassembled it, soldered them myself, written the firmware, and flashed it. It is such a labor of love that, like I said, with my hobbies, if I can do something myself, I will. For example, it kills me internally that I don't have the facilities to change my own oil right now. I want to get hands-on and do that kind of thing myself. So this keyboard right here is not representative of what we are working on. We're not in a place where we can show you the designs and ideas of what will become can I say the name?
We go for it.
The Dark Seraph keyboard.
Dark Seraph. There you go.
Dark Seraph, yes.
Very nice.
Keeping with our mythological winged creature theme.
And I love the tools of the trade thing. And I do this a lot myself with the time audit. I pretty much had to tell, some people that were just kind of stuck on, the old, really bad cell phones, not one of the mainstream ones. Like, no, I'm not spending $1,000 on a cell phone. That's ridiculous. But yet every time I see them, they're on their cell phone complaining about how crap it is. It's like, do you understand how much time you're spending on your cell phone? Like, just get a nicer one. You'll spend less time being aggravated on it. Like me as a chef, I've probably spent like $6 or $7 grand on knives. No regular person's gonna do that, but you'd expect a chef to. So someone who's at their keyboard all day, what are you doing? Get a good keyboard.
Right.
Seriously. And there have been people who have said that that's ridiculous. There's no way it makes that much of a difference. And then I let them type for a couple minutes on it.
Yeah. And that's my wife. She spends a lot of her time at a keyboard as well. And I gave her my old razor. I know already, don't say anything. It's a razor, all right? It went from a membrane nonsense crap thing, and she is in love with it. I could just imagine the $800 one, taking that one for a drive. So we don't need, 3 of those in the house. That's a little too much for us right now, but
And
definitely
I
cool.
feel obligated to point out right now that is not the price point that we are working for.
Good.
That isn't. Yeah.
You could build. You could take our chassis, the PCB we're using, and you could hypothetically you could get ridiculous with that.
You could.
That's not the target though.
Yeah. No. That is not what we are striving for. I did it because I could and because I wanted to. So, as I was saying, this is not a representation of what we are going to be offering. However, it does fit with our aesthetic very well in terms of this case and this keycap set. I pre-ordered this keycap set 2 years before I got hands on it, and I was very excited. That's fairly normal in the keyboard world, though. And I really put this one together to, again, as a neon sign at Midwest Gaming Classic, really to get people to notice it and come over and interact with it. I really wanted this to scream, touch me, play with me, see what it's like. And then having our switch tester right next to it also really helped. So each of these is a different switch.
It's really fun to play with.
Oh, it's so fun.
There's that many different switches?
This is a sample.
Yeah.
I thought like
way more.
I thought like 6 or 7 were like one in each like little section. Like each one's a different switch.
I mean, maybe in Cherry, I mean, Cherry has like maybe that many, but there are a whole bunch of other manufacturers.
Wow.
And at least in my personal opinion, I put Cherry pretty close to the bottom in terms of manufacturers I like.
I mean, doing like some research about this, like I'm so kind of removed from this world, and I also like am working with a Steel series, so like they can roast me as much as they want, but like it's such an upgrade, and like going down the rabbit hole and seeing how many different switches and keycaps and chassis and plates, and then like even mods further from there to like get the sound and feel that you want. It's really a huge opportunity that I think a lot of people don't really know exists that could potentially make their work days a lot easier.
And I'm actually super glad that you didn't have much exposure to this, because I really wanted your input.
Yeah.
I grilled you for information after you used it.
We did.
Yeah, I think that was a fun thing, just for me especially, to kind of get that first experience and truly get that like, oh wow, I get this. And I even got that, oh wow, I get this, when I upgraded from like the company provided keyboard to a Steel series. But it's such a jump up from there. And yeah, I think the feedback hopefully was good.
Oh, it was invaluable, for sure.
Great.
And it's not going to come across. So the linears and the tactiles, which I prefer, depending on what my task is, whether I'm typing or I'm gaming, that'll determine, and what side of the bed I woke up that morning will determine what kind of switches I'm kind of feeling. But one of my favorite switches, and that was by far the most popular with the data that I collected at the last Midwest Gaming Classic, is in my opinion the best clicky switch in the world, which is the Kale Box Navy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just oh, it is so satisfying. It is so crisp. It is so loud, and I love it. But actually, a surprisingly popular one, I shouldn't say surprising, because I really like it, was its cousin, the Kale Box Mute Jade, which is actually what I have in this keyboard. And it was a very new switch to me at the time. The Mute Jade, yeah.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. So you got the really nice sharp tactility of a clicky switch, but it's got an internal buffer to mute it, and it just makes for a really satisfying typing experience. And I loved seeing so many people come up, kind of maybe a little incredulous of the idea of switching over to a keyboard that didn't come with their prepackaged HP or Dell, and then watching them type on this.
Yep.
And just seeing the realization
what you've been missing
come into their eyes.
If you're the first one in the
all of their life
office,
decisions.
you won't be the only one in the office very long.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great venture to go down. You're very passionate. You have the research already. I love how you're going about it. Very textbook in the progress of something becoming successful, and I could definitely see that happening for you.
Let's hope. We're working really hard to make it happen.
All right. Moving on to our next one here. Let's talk about business in the sale. talk us through on how someone goes from, hey, I want to get a PC from you to a PC in their hand.
Yeah. So, at a high level, because we did touch upon a little bit, but at a really high level, the flow is you have a divine inspiration and you want one of the best computers you can possibly get. You contact us. It's teasing, of course, but we make really great machines. You contact us however you feel. Again, we're in terms of social media, Twitter or X,
We'll meet
and
you where you're at.
Instagram. We'll meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
Exactly. You contact us. You express interest. We'll get you over to email. We'll consult with you to figure out what you need, get a budget going, figure out, okay, do you have any customizations you want to do? We can do custom powder coating. So all of our cases are powder coated. And we can pick different colors. We can get really wild with it. We can, do really cool, fun custom colors. For the power supply cables, we can do custom power button. We can do a lot. It's a lot of fun. We figure out what you need. And then what we'll do is we'll then circle back, do, if additional research is needed, because there are some cases where certain software will be updated or, utilize different hardware, different ways. We like to utilize a lot of different trusted resources to verify, okay, what's going to be a great scenario here if we don't already have it on tap, basically. We then generate an estimate. We, get our parts list together, and then we can, like I said, we price out every component at the price that you're going to pay, and we welcome you to compare that to PC Part Picker, to compare to Amazon or Newegg, so on and so forth, other computer companies. Please take a look. And then we go back to you with that estimate. You can look at it yourself. Again, like I said, it's priced out line by line, exact model number. It's not just an RTX 4070 Ti. It's the specific ASUS model or the MSI model, so on and so forth. And then if you approve or have modifications, we'll do those. But if you approve, we then send you an invoice and you pay securely through Intuit's QuickBooks portal. If you use TurboTax or anything like that, you're already using an Intuit product. I believe TurboTax is an Intuit product.
I thought
Yes.
Yeah. So you're already using that. So you pay securely there through your credit card. That's it. We then once we see that's all good to go, we order our parts through our vendors, and we get everything in right here at our location here, and then we start building. Put our gloves on, start building, and we test through our pretty intensive test suite until everything passes out or meets or exceeds expectations. In the rare case that something doesn't turn out during testing, we investigate it, so on. We have procedures and systems for that. But once everything
communicate progress.
and communicate progress, that's true. We communicate once everything arrives, testing, packing. And then obviously the tracking number that you would get, so on and so forth. If it ships or if you're picking up, we arrange a time, so on and so forth. Get your parking set up too if you need to validate that, done. Or if you're really quick and just want to pull up to our loading dock, done. Easy. Ours is our loading spot, not a dock. And then, but during testing, we flush everything out, make sure everything's clean. We kind of do a burn in, I guess you could call it. Once everything's good, we'll get the machine basically back. So when you get it home and you turn it on, it does the whole welcome. If you're using Windows, the whole welcome procedure, you set it up, and there it is. But we pack everything, really well with a bunch of different packing material. I can get into it if you need me to, but we've never had it. We've shipped. I actually don't know how many computers we've shipped, and nothing's ever arrived damaged, dinged, or scratched. I can confidently say that.
Now, talk a little on the post purchasing. Say if they need
Yeah.
help with the welcome screen, or maybe they're like real new to PCs.
Of course.
Whatever it is, maybe something they're like, oh hey, like how do I do whatever with this PC? Is that something they can also follow up with you on?
Absolutely. Our policy is you have a lifetime of that. We warranty all of our computers at this time for a year. So if 10 months go by and something goes wrong, we have yet to have that happen. We've sold a lot of computers. If that does happen, we'll take care of it. If you have questions 5 years down the road, you can reach out with any of the same methods: email, SMS, call in, Instagram, Twitter, or X. whatever, meet you where you're at. We'll be here.
And another service that I don't think you touched on earlier, we do have just the cases
We do.
available for sale. And as a courtesy, we will at least do a compatibility check for
We
you.
will.
If you have a PC part picker list, for instance,
That's
we'll be
nice.
able to tell you, yep, this list looks good. This should all work together and fit within the case.
Right.
So if you're more of a, like you said, a do it yourself, or you can still
Mhm.
provide the product of the case, because I don't really see any, similar to what you're doing at all, especially custom powder coating. I mean, that's a rugged texture on there for sure. It stays on pretty good because you got that carrying handle. It's gonna be
Don't do
going
it. You
places.
can dig at it.
Don't do that.
I did my very first one we got, doing prototyping. Don't do this at home, but I wanted to see how strong is this powder coating, and so I got a screwdriver and it stung. Don't do that because if you do that enough, it's gonna mess it up. But
Please don't do
it's
that.
tough. It's
It'll
really
survive the car ride, pretty much, is what it can almost guarantee.
It's tough powder coating. There is an additional cost if you do a custom powder coat, but it's not ridiculous, and will make it to what you want. It's very cool.
I love that. Now, let's see here. Next, we have these are more less business and more like personal things, I'd say, with the businesses.
Bring it on.
How do you manage your time and the workload within it? Now, with you three, I know that you all have your own jobs, or looking for the full-time job. But how do you manage doing this business along with those other ventures so that you can still supply income to where you can finally get this to be your full-time?
When you guys take it away.
Yeah, I think that there's just like a mutual respect between the three of us that we do have other stuff going on. And, like that, I think provides a lot of grace for how we do business with each other. And just in terms of when we do work, even like, obviously, like we might not have a ton of availability during the workday, but we can work around that. And even then some, like, using our like all hands on Monday, like we had a very quick call, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to go play golf. You guys can finish up. And that's what happened. Like, we just truly respect those boundaries. And I think that does add a lot to the business and how we do things.
Agreed.
I don't really have anything to add to that. Yeah, it's finding, because maybe I'm not able to respond to emails rapidly throughout the workday as much as Henry is, for instance.
You send an email, my goal is within an hour, or I'm dead probably. If I don't, if you don't get an email during the workday, if you don't get a response within an hour, I've died.
If I see that he hasn't replied to an email
Kidding.
within an hour, I would go and knock on his door.
Don't hold me to it, but that really is the goal.
Or check to, or well, so I might have to check and see if a new Halo or Fallout game came out.
Yeah, the out of office notification goes on.
But no, it's just finding time when I am available throughout the day. That's it. We all have an understanding of when we're able to attend to things.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly what Max said.
I love that.
Yeah,
Sounds like a really good balance.
No, I mean, I'm in a unique position too, where DarkFusion basically is my full-time job. So I'm able to be on deck from our open till our close, and sometimes after. But we make it work. We don't work weekends. And that's just something we really, really want to do with like doing something creative, but that is never expected. I don't think have we ever worked a weekend
Other than MGC.
Yeah.
other than Midwest Gaming Classic, which is
Oh,
it's this whole we make it fun at the dinner.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
its own
comes
microcosm.
this year.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's communication, I guess. That's the way we treat customers too. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and treat yourself the way you think you should be treated too. Self-care.
Well, I mean, and you've excellently found a way to use DarkFusion Systems as a prism through which you do most of your other work anyway.
Correct.
Which gives you a unique
My
opportunity.
full-time, employment is a client and a customer of DarkFusion. So, I mean, for example, nobody pays me other than DarkFusion. So I guess I'm always in the DarkFusion systems. So I see everything, and I'm able to rally the troops if we need to do something as a team, or at least schedule something quickly. And the nice thing is we use a lot of the Google Workspace tools, which is not a plug for Google, but they have some really great tools. If anyone wants to start their own business, that's a great inexpensive way to get started, because you can plot things ahead. You can leave a message for somebody to get back to, so on and so forth. So obviously these guys are busy, doing 9 to 5s and whatever the times are. We can make it work. There's my long-winded answer.
That's
Got a
great.
lot of coffee.
I love the balance. I love the respect you all have for each other and yourselves. And I mean, clearly it shows you are all very motivational and putting the product in people's hands. So moving on right into our next thing here. So how do you keep the motivation and stay productive? Is it pretty much how you're respecting each other and getting things through? So how does that work?
Do what you love. You don't work a day in your life. And everyone says it. It's so freaking cliche. But when you wake up and you love what you're doing, you're going to want to do it. You want to do it more. And you do it to take time for yourself. But, what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can fully attest to that. I had a part-time job for a while that aligned with one of my biggest hobbies, and I only left because the pay wasn't quite there with how I was starting to value my time differently. But oh, that was such a fun job. Yeah, like I'd love to get that feeling back again more in my life. I totally agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, every
There it
time
is.
you clicked it, I seen it in you.
It's real.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm still feel like I'm so much in this exploratory phase where so much is new and I'm taking in so much information. And coming from like a marketing standpoint, I just see possibilities from there. So for me, it's not hard to stay motivated, especially because there's like a personal interest in what's going on, and there's so much constantly coming out and so much constantly changing that it's fun to keep up with.
Beautiful.
Answers.
So now we talked about the shows that you've been to and how you interact with the potential clients with that. And that was one of the main factors in bringing on more people onto your staff, is so that you can help the needs of so many people coming in. So talk a little more in depth about these shows and how you plan on, or which specific ones you plan on attending in the future.
Well, I mean, so
Start with the obvious.
yeah, so been to Midwest Gaming Classic now. I think we are in April, will be our 4th time attending now.
I think so.
And we're gonna have the whole crew make it work. We're planning on being there. Like we said, we're planning on having our a prototype keyboard there.
Starting last year,
Yeah.
we had a live demonstration of one of our
We
computers.
did.
That
was
I'm
fun.
so glad we did that. We got so much more foot traffic because of
did.
that.
Yeah, we had I think it was the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah,
running.
it was actually
Oh,
Halo
nice.
Infinite.
Oh, it was Halo. I'm sorry, it was Halo
Nice,
Infinite.
nice.
That's right.
And
Because Halo
because
Infinite's got way more.
That was what we
draw
didn't have
distance.
before. Is said, okay, we got this really cool small computer. Some people
So
might
what?
be skeptical about how well it works. He said,
Right.
well, let's run the latest and greatest Halo game.
That's actually one of the things that so before you were even on board,
Mhm.
and we're talking about, it's answering the so what. Oh, great, you have a cool computer. Okay, so what? Let's sit, pop a seat, take a look, see what you think. This much firepower, which they're experiencing, they're actually interacting with the computer,
Mhm.
can be in a form factor literally like, it's very small.
And in the future, that becomes the excuse to interact with one of
Yeah.
these. Originally, I wanted to bring my Vive Cosmos VR setup and set it
Ooh.
up there. We decided logistically that would be too many headaches, but
Right.
that would have really sent the message home about what these computers are capable of.
2024.
I still think it's logistically difficult.
Maybe just have a
2024?
video playing of someone using it and just believe
Maybe.
it.
Yeah, we could do capture of me blowing up hot dogs in VR. We'd also discussed PAX.
Yeah, it's something we're interested. The problem is, we love Midwest Gaming Classic, but that's not a problem. But the issue is timing. PAX East, I think, is either the same weekend or it's right in the same amount of time, or it's a pretty pricey event to go to. Like MGC is wonderful because it's priced in a very competitive way. Get a lot of foot traffic. It's easy to deploy to. I can see now it's called the Baird Center, but the Wisconsin Center is what it used to be called. That's about 2 blocks from maybe 3 blocks from our office. We can just hike our equipment over there. PAX East is going to either be driving for a few days or it's going to be a flight with a lot of gear. That's a big commitment from everyone here whose full-time jobs are elsewhere.
I mean, we've talked about going further though.
We did talk about going further, but TBD. MGC for sure. That's a great place to be. We've met the people who coordinate it. Awesome vendors there. Awesome people there.
Yeah, we got vendors that we look forward to just seeing there every year now. People
I
that
spend
we
way too much
work
money
with.
there.
Well, I mean, you'd say even people that we just tabled next to.
I've spent way too much money with them.
For sure. Additionally, there's another local event that we've talked about. We just narrowly missed it this last year, but
Tell them. So you can tell them.
so there's an event in Milwaukee every year called QWERTY Fest.
Tell them what the
Turns out the progenitor of the QWERTY layout. What?
No, I'm excited. Go.
Yeah. So the progenitor of the QWERTY layout for typewriters is from Milwaukee.
Yeah, there's like a plaque on a building like 4
Yeah.
blocks from here that's like, this is where QWERTY was invented. And it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
Look at your keyboard and tell me what that
Yeah.
you see it. QWERTY.
It has
happens
absolutely
here.
no reason to be on a modern keyboard anymore. Like the reasoning for that layout does not translate over anymore, but it's still so prevalent.
The machine shop of the world.
And
Truly.
I think that's a niche enough interest. I think we could really have some fun if we went there.
Just to show people, hey, this is the spiritual successor.
And especially because this is something I neglected to mention when I was talking about the keyboard earlier. The cases for the keyboard are going to be fabricated in Milwaukee.
Oh yeah.
They are going to be
Wow.
powder coated in Milwaukee. They're going to the plate is going to be treated like with its surface coating in Milwaukee. It's
4
going
blocks from the Pfizer Forum where the Bucks play.
yeah, it's
Bucks
Maybe
and
maybe
six.
5. Maybe 5
Yeah.
blocks.
But
I love the dedication to the localness. Like seriously,
they're going to
it's,
be
it's so
assembled
rare to find in
in
company.
Milwaukee.
Right.
To-
Probably
to-
assembled here.
right here. Our engineering
Well,
team
30 feet from an engineering
in
team.
Milwaukee.
River West neighborhood, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're UWM graduates, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is our
And everything else, our printed circuit board designed by this awesome dude in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we can call him out. I mean,
Yeah.
Josh Heinebush.
What a
Cool guy.
dude.
What a
Really knows
I mean,
his stuff, and it's
not,
fun working
not trying
with
to
him.
out him, but the guy, we told him what we were doing, and this is just again, this is how tight the tech field is. Never met us before, no connection. Said, hey, this is what we're doing. Do we have your permission to use your PCBs? We'll buy them. And he goes, here's the engineering files.
yeah.
Who else does this?
Wow.
People like that.
He's like, leverage
guess.
this to the degree that you want.
CC me. What he's also said, CC me.
He said he'd be willing to be on calls with our engineering
Yeah,
team.
it's like CC me on communications. If
That's
you
crazy.
need.
Wow, good.
And
on
he's
him.
not the only person when we pitched this idea. He's not the only person who's done it. Like using your community, business is personal. I'll say it again and again and again. Business is personal. People like that are awesome. They have no reason to do it other than the fact they're passionate about what they're doing. Awesome.
The mechanical switches that we're going to be using for the most part, we are going to be sourcing them through one of my favorite mechanical keyboard supply companies,
We can out
Big.
them too.
Novel Keys.
Also, the owner
Love-
of that, we're gonna out him. We're gonna out this
Yeah.
person too. Like, I'm not gonna say their name, but we signed it. Well, we didn't sign an NDA and the pricing, so we're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, of course.
But they're awesome.
Oh, such a joy to work with. And I've been buying from them for years, so it's so fun to work with them. And speaking of using for years, I discovered, looking into it more deeply, that the company that manufactured most of my favorite keycap sets is from the United States. Those are manufactured in the United States. So I've been fanboying out when emailing them, talking about keycap sets that we're going to get for this.
Yeah.
And so this is a long-winded way of saying, I think we're focusing so much on made in Milwaukee wherever possible, and just in the United States wherever that needs to be. It makes me want to interact with people locally and show people locally what we have.
Look what we achieved.
And also, it's a keyboard. It's so
That's
hard
a
to
fact.
sell that digitally. People say like, "Oh, why do I spend this much on a keyboard?" Try it.
Yeah,
Right.
once
It's
Right.
right here.
Right.
they sell
It's
itself.
so
they,
true.
They really
Yeah.
like sell
Put hands
themselves.
on it. Take it for a test drive.
Quite literally.
We're gonna have
It's
to get like a beer keep cap set or something for Milwaukee.
I've got some ideas
Or like a
about
beer mug escape key.
special.
Send me a message after this.
I've already got some local
Get
ideas about
Blatz, Schlitz,
Cerakote.
Pabst, Miller.
PBR
There-
themed keyboard.
So Max, there's a certain flag that could be potentially
Oh, for sure.
Cerakoted on
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
already up
The
there.
Milwaukee
Already up
People's
there.
The
flag?
people's flag.
I would steal that. I like that. So I wish
I-
more our own thing stuff. This
I
is
love
the
how
team
it's
we
all
have,
coming
don't worry.
together. That's definitely awesome. It clearly could tell the passion for it, keeping it local, keeping it US, the tight-knit community. How you saying business is personal, making sure that you keep those connections so that the product really is just amazing in how it comes out. And it just sounds like it's all just meant to be a really outstanding product. It's going to be a huge hit when it comes out.
That's the goal.
Mhm.
So now talk a little quickly just on just sales. You don't have to say the exact amount of money you're making from them, but how like profitable and beneficial to the business has these events been for you?
Honestly, so we've been 3 times, and the very first time, we didn't really know what to expect. It was our very first time I had never been we were the first. It was my very first time at being at MGC. Period. So I had no idea what to expect, and it was our very first time really like tabling DarkFusion. We knew how to do, or at least I knew how to do the basics of an internet presence, but we had no socials. Believe it or not, we had no social media, and we didn't even have. We had all of our cases there, and we had photos. We didn't even have a functioning computer on site. We had built multiple functioning computers, but we did not have. So it was tough. I think the very first year we didn't sell a single thing. Truly, we gave away a lot of business cards, and we met a lot of really cool people in the business side of things, in the relationships. The founder, I believe, of the the Milwaukee Esports Alliance just came up to us, and we're part of that. That's gonna be a really cool thing. It's a whole different discussion. But we met a lot of other really cool people. But in terms of actual sales, nothing happened. That's okay. Getting ourselves out there, people knowing we exist. That was the goal, and we achieved that. The second year, that's when you were on. That was your very first time. We killed it. We sold. We didn't sell like hundreds of computers, but we sold some machines, educated a lot of people, showed a lot of people what's possible, what you can do. But we still didn't have a setup to test and experiment with. Third year, did pretty well too. But we actually had a full, like I'll call it a full booth finally. But I guess that's why we have someone who actually knows how to really do like a customer experience now. Like we know what we like, but we know what we're doing. We know what we're thinking.
We know why we want this.
How do we show people in an effective and efficient way why we love what we love? Once people figure that out and know that, it's pretty much an open and shut case. The customers we've had before say, initially they're, I don't know, fair. It's a lot of money. Computers are expensive. They're not cheap. They're not like an Xbox is great because you can go pick one up for not a ton of money.
And it can be really awkward because we're at Midwest Gaming Classic, and we're selling computers. That could be $2,000,
right? Or more.
Right. It sometimes it feels a little awkward being at a fairly commercial event with a product that nobody's going to buy on the spot.
Right. And yeah, in fact, we don't even intend to sell on the spot.
Right. That'd be a pretty interesting discussion if we did.
We focus on educating, and then if people are interested, they give us their contact information. Because the conventions are very busy, we'll reach out Monday, Tuesday, and that's how we've been doing things. But once people get these things in their hands, people love them because they finally get to play with it, and that's why having a booth that actually lets you interact is so important. And that's something that I had to learn kind of the hard way. But,
and it gives you immediate feedback too. If they're like, nah, I don't like that at all because of blah blah blah, and be like, oh wow, I actually really like that you guys are doing this, and that immediate feedback you can't really get anywhere else.
You need to learn what people what questions people have so you can adapt your website and your socials to it.
Yeah, it's so huge. I mean, it's half advertisement, half market research as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So we could get into more just your own personal beliefs here. So one of the questions I've written down here is, what are your thoughts on the current state of the computer industry and where is it headed as a whole? I know that there's AI and that's going to be pretty big for computers. There's a lot of streaming services, not just like, Twitch, but like, Netflix and things like that. They
Yeah.
want to get into streaming gaming. So, PCs have to follow along with that. So
Right.
like where are we going with that? TVs are getting smarter. Are people going to need PCs? Like what are we looking at here?
So
Zuckerberg's metaverse for sure.
right.
That's a joke.
No, right.
Seriously.
No. You know, you can't predict the future, but you can always adapt. You can learn. But I guess I'm most comfortable speaking about the industry that we know.
Mhm.
I can't talk really about AI and sound like I worked for an AI company actually, at Landscape Market AI company. Despite that, I don't think I know enough to really give a good forecast. However, with the computer industry, what we're doing, I think the biggest thing that we really need is for pricing to normalize on gaming hardware, particularly on video cards. Right now, and a mid-range card is ridiculous. Now, obviously, there's a ton more power than what we had a few years ago. Um, it's become, in my opinion, it's become more expensive for new people to get into the industry. More people. I mean, that's even if you build it yourself, it's more expensive. At least from my opinion.
Yeah, it wasn't always like that.
It
but
wasn't.
It sure does feel like it is right
You
now.
could get a really great mid-range. At least I did. I remember my very first video card in a system was like a 550 Ti, and I could play Battlefield 3 at decent enough settings with that, and it was fun. And I feel like what is it? What does an RTX 4060 go for? These
GTX.
RTX 4060.
It was RTX.
We're on RTX. Yeah. The RTX 4060s are a couple $100, which is fine. It's a great card. We just built a system.
4060. My bad.
4060. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's getting late. No, you're good. But that's a lot of money. Okay, but when I can go out and buy a PS5, I mean, we're attacking our own industry here, but it's important for people to know this. And a PS5 is like the same cost as about the same cost as a 4060 Ti. That's just one part. We need to see prices come down in some way.
What do you think is affecting the price? Do you think it's a lot of the mining of cryptocurrencies? You think that kind of died out in popularity a bit? Or what's kind of keeping it high at this stage?
That's really tough to say.
I mean, supply chain for sure. I feel
Supply
like
chain,
we're
supply
suffering a
chain
lot of that.
hurts. Also, the manufacturers, I think some of them really know they can get away with charging more because people are buying them.
They just kind of kept the price at the same level, you
right?
think?
Pardon?
They kept the price at the same level, you think, between like COVID, crypto mining, and all of that. You think that they kind of kept it since people are buying?
Well, things have gotten way better than they were a couple of years ago. You can actually get stuff, right?
Yeah.
You can get hardware now, but here's the thing: it's not even that the prices are inflated above MSRP. It's just that we can get stuff at MSRP. It's not a problem. You get it right from Nvidia if you want, or AMD, or any of these other people. It's the fact that the MSRP is so high.
Yeah. There was a nice little sweet spot right as they were trying to launch the 40 series.
Yeah.
Where I think there was a surplus of inventory on the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that was a nice
Ti.
That was a nice little sweet spot that I wish we could have stayed in a little bit.
But
longer.
I remember seeing 3060 Ti's going for like $500. Like, okay, most people are gonna see that, and then they just want to play video games once or twice a week. They're gonna go get a PS5. And honestly, as an owner of a computer company, if that's all you're doing, that's the buy.
And I mean, I'm just gonna say,
how do we, any of us, and even our competition, how do you, if you're just casually gaming, mind you, you don't really, just want to play Call of Duty with the guys or the gals or whatever. That's a really tough sell because there's not really a lot of other good or popularized introductory cards. The pricing is not what it needs to be.
However, like I said, I'm going to say it. Thank you, Intel.
Yeah, the art cards. I really hope that driver support and that continues to mature.
I really want them to do well.
Those are the Stormbreakers.
And additionally, I know I've
hopefully
at the possibility of shooting myself in the foot. The other big value in gaming right now, dude, the Steam Deck.
Steam Deck is a great.
Oh my gosh.
A great piece of
I
hardware.
picked one up when they came out. What a deal!
And maybe that leads into the answer to the other part of that question. Maybe that actually is the answer. Is that lower, quote unquote, lower end or introductory video cards? That market might just be dead. I don't know. because the cost to produce and the return might not be there from a business case. And the fact of the matter is, you can go out and buy an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Steam Deck or what's it called, the Asus, like
Yeah, they
something.
just launched something. I think Lenovo's coming out with something
You,
new too.
you know,
course they
and
are.
that might be because those things are a couple $100s too, and that might be that might honestly, Chef, that's probably the new trend is why buy a $150 video card for 350 and go get a Steam Deck or
Yeah, I
450.
mean, especially if you can like dock it to a TV and hook up like
There
a
you go.
controller, like
on PC
yeah.
gaming,
But not just a controller.
Or yeah,
You
one
can
of
even do
our
it
You can
keyboard.
still use
future
a keyboard.
keyboards. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And you're still PC gaming,
Mhm.
which is really cool.
It's still Linux.
So that's probably that's why at least that's the future of the low end. And then the nice, or again, I shouldn't say low end, but like the introductory cards. Here's the thing though, when you talk about these big, I mean, at the end of the day, the more space you can allow, for a video card, the hypothetically the more power you can kind of add, right? So when you go with a desktop, you're going to be able to have more space for more horsepower, right? And that's so I don't think the mid or the high range is going to be high end is going to be affected in the near future as much, but it's very expensive. And I guess maybe the market's maturing in that the people who are going to buy that stuff are just going to buy it anyway at those inflated prices. And the introductory levels are going to get these awesome new value propositions like the Steam Deck, which is fine. That means more PC gamers overall. But I would like to see those cheaper cards come around.
Yeah, it's hard for computers to compete, with the likes of PlayStation, because PlayStation, their profit margins are like on the games as well. They're not just selling you the system; they're selling you. Now you have to buy our games. PC, you buy it literally wherever you want. You pirate it, do literally whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So their profit, they have to make it on the PC, and then hope that maybe you use their services more in the future and buy more software through whatever the means of where you bought it from. But usually that point of sale just happens for the item, and then that's it. You use their free software and you're done with them.
Right. Yeah, to that point, I think I would put money on the Steam Deck being a loss leader.
Yeah,
I think I would.
I'd be really curious to see their financial,
because like you said, they make money on the games.
Honestly. Yeah,
but
it'd be interesting.
Yeah, maybe Epic Games comes out with their next thing, and maybe they come out with a console or whatever, and more PC competition. But I think most of the competition is just, as you said, at the lower end. There's really no entry level PC unless you're, especially gaming. I'm sure there's entry level, workstations where all I need to do is open Word documents all day. It's like, all right, well, go buy a Dell and you're fine. But when you get into the higher end of stuff, PCs, that's where they take over, and nothing else is going to compete with the creativity that you have in building that platform.
Well, I do think that we could rely on the potentially on the element of peer pressure. It's like you get into the low end of PC gaming. It's like, oh, cool, I'm playing something on a fairly easy to run
Doom
engine. Yeah. And your buddies say like, oh, sweet, dude, I friended you on Steam. Like the rest of us are gonna grab like the latest Battlefield game. We want you to play it with us. It's progressively, I feel like as you create a community around it, there's also going to be other people
like cascading or snowballing effect.
Yeah, snowballing effect there. Right. It sounds a little bad when I say it out loud, but I think you know what I mean. Right. Like there is going to be a community element to it.
There is. There definitely is. When all your friends are doing right, exactly.
Yeah, just do what you enjoy. Be like, yeah, I enjoy playing with the boys. I love playing. I want to play the new Battlefield. It's like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to go and do this, and that's the means of playing that game. And going against consoles to PC, if you're playing the same game, because obviously specifically things like Battlefield are on console, do a direct comparison. If you're a real nerd on like, I want the water to look more real than the water in the ocean, well, you're going PC. If you're like, I literally don't care, all I want is to play and have some fun, I'm not going pro, I'm not streaming, I'm playing for an hour and then watching Netflix with some friends or something, Go
And
with a
I
console.
feel like my apologies. I
Okay.
feel like we might be doing ourselves a little bit of disservice though, because we have just been talking about gaming. But a lot of what went into my parts build for my now current Dark Phoenix computer, I'm still in the process of teaching myself Mastercam, computer aided design, computer aided manufacturing. I'm
Right.
starting to learn Fusion 360. Those require some decent hardware.
They do.
And I'm able to shut down Steam and pop into Mastercam and do machining
And
simulations.
you can't really do that with really anything.
You can't do that
else.
on a MacBook.
Right.
You can't do that on a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So I'm able to switch mine from fun to productivity.
That's a great thing to bring up. This for my personal use, it's nothing that I can, speak on. That's why I've been big on gaming. I do video editing, and I know that my PC is like right at the cusp of like what the editing software can handle. Like every like once an hour, it'll skip a little bit and be like, it's like we're maxed out on the PC right now. So the more you get into actually getting work done, as you say, workstations, the work you're doing requires some pretty big stuff. Like you see the like CNC machines, they're ginormous. There's a lot of like PC components in that create this like massive thing that needs to be made. Different machines, different assembly lines and stuff. There's computers like running that stuff, and if you're doing that design at home, your PC also kind of needs that strength in it, and that's where what you're building can help out.
Right. Exactly. Well
Uh,
said.
so moving on to the next one, very controversial. Team AMD or Intel?
For the business, it really depends on the customer's use case. It depends what they're doing. There's no bias there. Um, that's all I really had to say about it. I mean, we figure what you're trying to do, and because they both have their places, of course, and that also comes. I guess that also comes back to my personal build. My personal machine, which I use for work every single day, is a R7 5700X. That's a great. So that's a great. I think it's a 65 watt 8 core, a 16 thread system. It's great. AMD because I can, the temperature wise, it's not an issue in the Dark Phoenix. I love it. I got a good deal on it, and it hit all the different workstation tasks perfectly. So that's why I went with that. But previous systems have been, 8700K Intel, right?
What would you say just one strength of each one? Which one do they do best? But from what I've seen, AMD's usually a little cheaper because Intel, you're kind of paying for the name. So like, what are you saying?
Not as it depends on a lot of factors actually. Now that's most of the answers I should say have a depends asterisk on them. The new Ryzen 7000 series are incredible. However, that platform does actually cost quite a bit. I don't know the exact pricing right now because prices are dynamic. Right, they're market prices, and that's what we track. But sometimes it can be about the same price or more or less. It just depends. AMD has always been really great. Let's just say I should be careful. Ryzen has historically had great temperatures to performance, and by doing some work in the BIOS, you can really cut temperatures down and keep your performance, which is really nice. The new Intel stuff runs pretty warm, but you have very efficient, or I should say, very powerful but hot performance. Then again, the new AMD stuff is designed to run up to 99 Celsius and sit there. That is by design. That is based on engineering. That is what they built them to do. So they, again, it really, there's pros and cons to all of them. They all have different, certain software, for example, in the computer aided design CAD world, certain software will use each of those manufacturers differently and in different ways. And some performance, maybe similar pricing will perform better with Intel or AMD. And it's these days, which is a good thing. We want competition in our market. It's so hard to just say, go with one manufacturer over the other. It really comes down now just to what's your price, what's your software, which model.
I mean, with my gaming, like I said, I use the still fairly new the Ryzen 7700 because it fit my needs absolutely perfectly, especially for a small form factor build. But in my home lab of various servers that I maintain at home, it's Xeons.
Yeah,
it's just that's kind of the standard. They're ubiquitous with it, and that's what I work with there.
Yeah,
each thing for its purpose.
They all have their pros and both of them have their pros and cons. And I should double back on what I said too. That's a stereotype right now with the current stuff. Ryzen running cooler with modification and Intel running hot. They have their places they can run hot. They both can. That's not a fair statement to make, but that's the generalization, is that you can get Ryzen to, just with a little bit of tuning, you can really drop temperatures and keep a lot of performance. Whereas Intel, you are going to get some crazy performance, but they're going to throw more heat.
What I did like about AMD is they took the step in equipping most of their Ryzen CPUs without onboard graphics because they recognize
the 7000 series though, they have onboard.
Oh no, I meant like more in the beginning,
yeah.
like a
also
few years
socket
ago.
support. That's you know what?
True.
There it is.
Yeah,
there it is. Sorry, I'm
nice.
getting tired, and that's an important thing for our community to know. AMD, again, this is a generalization, but AMD has supported their motherboard sockets, AM3, AM3 Plus, AM4, AM5. I think AM5 we'll see, but for a long time, whereas Intel sockets are usually cycled out pretty quickly. So if you want to get the latest stuff, you usually get a new board. That old board either gets sold or turned into e-waste. I mean, I bought my motherboard, my personal machine, about 3 or 4 years ago now, and I'm using, I'm still using it. I've swapped two, it's my second CPU through it. It's nice to be able to reuse stuff.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
There's support of that of like the
AM4, yep. So you're on AM5.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm on AM5 now. Yeah, for the length that they supported AM4 was awesome. I loved it from a builder perspective, from a troubleshooter perspective.
It's right. I guess that's a big pro to AMD. And I guess I would, in Intel's defense though, by cycling out to new sockets, and they can redesign. They have a great idea. They can push it out. By their business model, they can push out something new. Now, do they take advantage of that all the time? Up to you to decide. But in theory, they have their different places. And these days, awesome. So
I love the knowledge that comes with that, especially with knowing the temperatures that things run. That goes into building it. Like when I reach out, be like, hey, I'm doing this, and say I looked at this processor and I think this is what I'm looking to go for, and then you can hit back and be like, well, that one runs a little hot, so I'd recommend liquid cooling. So let's pick out one of those. Do you want RGBs? Whatever, and then go from there. So having that knowledge obviously is there. You guys have it. So when someone comes in and says, this is what I want, you can kind of gauge them into the ideal machine for what's needed.
That's the goal.
I love it. So, I mean, this podcast has been great. We can always have more questions, but I think we got a lot of it answered here. Got an understanding of everyone. Got an understanding of the business, what you've been doing, what you're looking to do. And Brian and Max, thank you for joining in as well. I love that we got the whole company coming together, and Henry for chatting with me beforehand and getting this set up. I know we rescheduled it a week later, but I'm glad that we got this one done. It's been seriously amazing. This is my first podcast style stream that I've done, so hopefully this went very well. Maybe I'll look more into software that we can use to be more beneficial to the viewer. But I think it all went very well.
I think so too. Yeah, we honored to be talking with you, Chef, and the audience out there. If you have any questions, really don't hesitate to ask. If nothing else, just drop a line, say hi. Happy to talk.
Speaking of that, where can they reach you? Talk about your socials and your website.
Yes. So for Instagram, at DarkFusion Systems. Wow, that was tough, right? And then Twitter is at DarkFusion SYS, because you can't do full systems. And then you can go to our website, www.darkfusionsystems.com.
Was my hair
Right there. Yep.
Hey, there it is. Look at that.
We're all doing it.
Oh my gosh, love it. So www.darkfusionsystems.com. That's our website. And feel free to poke around. And then we have a contact us page in our company directory and drop a line. Love to hear from you. Otherwise, if you want to reach me directly, it's admin@darkfusionsystems.com. If you want to send us a text or call us, it's 414-367-9565. Love to hear from you guys.
But the best way to get a hold of us, come to Milwaukee Gaming Classic.
Yeah,
Or Midwest Gaming Classic, my
Yeah.
bad. Midwest Gaming Classic.
Yes.
I've
It's
said
in
the word
Milwaukee,
Milwaukee
yes.
too many times today.
Honestly, if you probably stumble around the city, you might run into one of us too.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
Especially some
beautiful.
cars.
Just keep that on the down low. Oh, this is a wonderful place, a wonderful business, and it's been an honor being able to share a little bit with the community here and you, Chef. And it's been a good night.
Yeah, and there's definitely plenty coming between both of us, the Gaming Chef and DarkFusion Systems.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and just to give you a little thing that I haven't told you before, I actually got my application in for an LLC for Chef Content. So it's official. It's not official, it has to get submitted through still, but it has been applied for and it is in progress. So very
Excellent.
excited for that.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
That's what's
and
up.
definitely looking to come out in person. We'll talk about that to Midwest Gaming Classic. Create some content for you guys. Maybe help
let's-
work the
let's
booth,
talk.
whatever we want to do. Have some fun, and just kind of hang out and talk business and just have some fun. Just like this
Well,
podcast has been a lot of
We'll
fun.
have to show you the food scene here as well. They're filming Top Chef in Milwaukee right now. So.
And the hotels.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely excited for that. Well, thank you all. Max, Brian, Henry, you have all been amazing. We'll definitely do some more stuff like this in the future. Probably a little more. We could probably do like more personal things, kind of like the AMD versus Intel thing. We could kind of do like our own little, like maybe 30-minute podcast, upload that to Spotify type of deal. We'll talk in the future. But I think this has been pretty beneficial.
Agreed.
Awesome.
For sure.
Likewise.
All right. You all have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chef.
Take care now.
Bye-bye. All right, gamers. Thank you all for watching. It has been an amazing stream with DarkFusion Systems. I will catch you all in the next one. Have yourselves a great night.